So business is just a game of energy and systems. I think momentum in and of itself is not something a lot of business owners and operators talk about. The real challenge of momentum is building it to begin with, because it can only be built through small wins. Those small wins stacked enough during a day makes the day productive, it makes the day efficient, and it makes the day generate value. You stack those small wins throughout the day and you've won the day. And you probably know what I'm about to say next. Once you've won the day, you get up tomorrow and you do it again. That's actually the hard part. That's the part that not a lot of people want to talk about. It's actually really, really easy to win one day. Very easy. What's hard is doing it again tomorrow. Anybody can do it once, but can you do it again tomorrow? Okay, now you got 2 wins. You got 2 days that you've won. And then it's about extending that momentum into a week. And then you extend that momentum into a month. Before you know it, you've got an entire year where each month began with stacking those small wins on a daily basis. If we can look after the small things, the big things will look after themselves. So business is just a game of energy and systems. Burnout is a symptom of a reward scheme not being fulfilled. If there's not ample reward on the end of all that work, you're going to be burnt out. I think the reason why a lot of business owners burn out to begin with is because they're not generating enough profit on the back end. So it doesn't matter how much energy they put into their system, the system itself is not processing that energy correctly, and then the end result, the output of the system, is not feeding more energy back into the operator or the owner. And so you kind of have this vicious cycle where the business owner is putting so much energy into an inefficient system and the operator is not getting enough out of it. And this is simple systems design. So a lot of the time, business owners will get stuck in operating the business. They'll get stuck in the day-to-day. They'll be trying to stack up those small wins, but it's very hard to stack those small wins when the system of the business is incorrectly designed. So the question I'll ask myself is, what parts of my business system, what parts are not working efficiently? What parts of my system are not producing the results that I want? Before I start pushing all of this energy into the system trying to force an output, let me first look at the system of the business first and work on the part that is not working how I want it to. Let me fix that first. That way, the next time that I want to put way more energy into the business, the output is outsized. And so that burnout, in order to reduce that burnout, the system has to be worked on first. You have to take a high level view of the business system first before you can accurately assess, okay, where is my energy going? Where is my energy flowing? Because at the end of the day, we want to put in 1 unit of energy and get 1 unit of output out. Or sometimes even more. If you have a really efficient system, you're able to put 1 unit of energy in and get 10, 100, 1,000 out because the system is so efficient. And to really simplify it for you, the system is just a collection of processes. It's just a group of processes. A lot of business owners are not aware of what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So there's a lot of leakages of energy. A little bit of energy goes out here, a little bit of energy goes out there. Before you know it, you've done half a thing and the day's over. And you got to get up tomorrow and you got to do the same thing. So I think what worked for me was, and it's something that it's an ongoing process, right? Each year you're getting better. Each day you're getting better. But on a long enough time horizon, if you're able to identify where the energy leaks are within the business itself runs better. Because now you're putting all this energy into the business, it's entering the system, which is now set up in a more efficient way, and your output is outsized. And what's interesting is when you're doing well, when you've got that momentum, when you're seeing a smooth transition of that energy going through the system, turning into solid results, you probably know what happens. You get more energy. And so what I've noticed within my business is the more that I process volume, the more volume I'm able to process. And that also results in me processing more volume. So it's kind of the opposite of what a vicious cycle is. And what I like to call it is a recursive progression, whereby the better I do this thing, the more opportunity I get to do this thing. And because I'm doing it more, I'm getting better at doing it. And now because I'm better at doing it, I'm getting to do more. And so it's like an infinite circle. And you might have heard this before, is this idea of the reward for good work is more work. And so business being a game of energy and systems, you actually don't need to be high energy. That's the one thing that I think people get confused with. There are many old business people that run rings around the average 20-year-old. Purely because they know how to operate on information. They know how to use the energy they do have and set up systems that create outputs. So when we're wanting to make our business better, we simply review, okay, here is this energy that I have available. Which parts of the business are they allocated to? Because if they are allocated to processes within the system that don't need to be there, then that's where you're having the energy leakages. Because the goal is to create the system so that everything that is supposed to be there is supposed to be there. Everything that is there has a purpose. It's kind of why I think that reducing clutter is extremely high ROI, return on investment, return on time, return on energy, return on money. Reducing and taking the things out of places where they shouldn't be, one of the best things you can do for the energy. I've known it personally with physical stock. When I have stuff that's not supposed to be here, I need to take it out. The moment I take it out, I instantly feel better. And so that's a simple little switch that you can turn on. Is okay, what are the things in my space that are not supposed to be here? Let me take them out. And I think that really works across all avenues of life, but particularly well in business. From a physical space perspective, there are certain things that aren't supposed to be here. Let me remove them. Now, if you look at business as a system, you look at what are the processes that I'm currently doing that I should not be doing or that I don't need to be doing. So there's this mental model called via negativa. Steve Jobs was a fan. And you can tell if you look at your iPhone because of how minimal it is. The question was basically raised is, how do you add using subtraction? So addition through subtraction. Basically, less is more. What can I take out which will then create space for this other thing? So you can look at a lot of businesses. There's just a lot that is there, that if they just reduced it, it would be better. First thing that they do on celebrity chef shows, celebrity chef, what do? They go in and they cut the menu in half. Because usually the problem with a lot of these restaurants is they just have too many things. And when you have that variation of process, when you have that variation of product, you're leaking energy every time you switch tasks. Recently, I've been reading My Life and Work by Henry Ford, his autobiography. And he speaks about having a whole bunch of these cars. And then he refined the factory down to one car, Model T. He was basically able to just scale to the moon because they just did the one thing. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he was famously quoted as saying, customers can have any color of car as long as it's black. And so reducing that choice, reducing the excess process within the system, he was able to scale it much further. And he was able to increase the quality. Because ultimately, if you just refine and do one thing, you get much, much better at doing that one thing because you're doing the same thing over and over again versus switching up to this thing versus switching up to that thing. You just get better at doing the same thing over and over again. So business, just a game of energy and systems. Thank you for watching.